Welcome back, everyone. As you probably guessed from the title of the video as well as the thumbnail, we are going over these two lights today. As when I'm making this video anyway, they're relatively new to the market from Sig Sauer. They are the Foxtrot EDC. Now I have some predictions on kind of like where I think this is going, but before we get into all that, we will talk about the lights themselves. Essentially, they are the same light in terms of output, in terms of runtime, they're a little bit different. In terms of battery, they're a little bit different, but the components outside of the body here, you can swap back and forth. And basically this one here, which is the compact version, this one's gonna give you 60 minutes of runtime. This one will give you 90 minutes of runtime. In terms of lumens, both of them are gonna give you 1,350 lumens, and they're gonna give you 33,000 candela. So kind of at least at this time when I'm recording this, early 2024, that's sort of like a mid performance for a lot of different lights out there on the market that are this size. Some of them are going to give you more candela, some are going to give you more lumens, but it's kind of like a middle Goldilocks in terms of Goldilocks output, I should say. So before getting into all the different features of the lights and then doing beam comparisons and all that stuff, before continuing on, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is American Hartford Gold. Anybody who's watched the channel knows that I am not a huge fan of fiat currency, and that is an understatement. There's a plethora of reasons why that might be. Constant inflation, banks failing, the government threatening to bring about a digital currency. And as firearms owners know, you cannot count on the government for your protection. Our friends at American Hartford Gold can help you diversify your portfolio from just fiat-based currency to physical gold and silver, so that way you diversify that risk across the board. American Hartford Gold has thousands of 5-star ratings and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Plus, they support content like this, which certainly is not the case with all companies, as many of you know. When you reach out to them now, they will give you up to $5,000 in free gold or silver. And you can let them know that I sent you by texting code GEAR to the number here on your screen, or giving them a call at 866-856-2097. Again, that is 866-856-2097, or text GEAR to 65532. Now back to the video. Getting into each light, basically we'll start here at the butt and sort of work our way out. So we do have a knurled tail cap on there on both of them. It does come with two different tail caps. This one here has the sort of protected feature here, so that way you don't accidentally or negligently discharge your light. However, they also make one that doesn't have that. The actual activation of the light is fairly simple. Essentially, you can light press for a momentary or click and press. Now, the actual amount of travel when you click and press it is a good bit. I do think that's a good feature. I'm a fan of that. Some of like the Olight gas pedal tail caps are a little bit touchy in that regard. This one absolutely is not. So you have to intentionally press it, which I do like on that one. Now, I personally prefer the protected tail cap, but I know a lot of you guys are going to want the smooth one, so I think it's just sort of a preference thing on that front. You can, of course, unscrew them and take your clip out if you want to. I don't really know why you would want to. Of note there, they are O-ring sealed and rated for IPX7, which we're going to test today in a rather unique way, I think. It's already been tested, but we will bring that to you. So of course the body there is anodized, as is the head. Both the heads are the same. You could take them off and swap them out if you want to. The actual Foxtrot EDC is nicely done in there. It's kind of hard to get on camera because the camera, there's no contrast, right? The camera has a hard time picking it up. Additionally, moving on to the head here, it is nice the way that they actually, just form factor, the way it all goes together. It's fairly smooth. Nothing's going to get caught on anything outside of the clip, obviously. So for carrying it in a pocket, it's definitely as streamlined as it can be with the batteries that they use. So let's talk about the batteries. So to take the head off, obviously you can just take the head off. This one here is going to use an 18350 battery. It comes with two of them, so you get two. It is USB-C rechargeable, so that way you can charge one while you use one, so that definitely is a convenient feature of them. Now, both of these lights can use CR123A batteries as well. If you guys want to go that route, you certainly can do so. Moving on to the larger one, remove the head in the exact same way. Once again, we are O-ring sealed. This one here is going to use the more powerful 18650 battery. Again, USB-C rechargeable. This one, of course, is what allows you to get a longer runtime. So again, 60 minutes versus 90 minutes, and the output is the same. Now, one thing that's important to understand with these lights is the interface. So it is high only. So again, press and you get your momentary, or click for constant. But you only get high, and you get high every time, whether you like it or not. So it's not programmable or anything like that. My personal preference would be, in any type of light, flashlight, handheld light, is to get high only first, and then some sort of low or administrative mode after that. because there's a lot of situations where, at least my opinion anyway, where you're going to get a lot of candela and you don't really need it. And one thing that is nice about this is that it's pretty well regulated. A lot of flashlights get very, very hot that are high output lights. This one does a good job at regulating the heat, better than most, I will put it that way. However, like, you know, let's say hypothetically you're a police officer. Majority of the time you're using your flashlight, it's to fill out reports and crap like that, right? So you want that low administrative mode, but of course when you want all the lumens and all the candela, you want it to be there, so you always want that high first. But me personally, I would like to have a high low or even programmable, but Sig is not offering that with this particular package. Who knows, maybe down the road they will. Speaking of that, let's wait for the sun to go down and take a look at the beam pattern of these lights, as well as compare it to some competitive offerings. Before getting to the beam comparison, I should note that my camera is set on manual to as close to what I see here with my human eye as possible. Additionally, if you guys are watching this on a screen that has a brightness adjustment, if you turn it all the way up, it'll be the closest to what I actually see out here in real life. So there is the output from the Sig EDC. This is the full-size one, but as we'll show you here in just a second, it's the same output with compact, but you can see there that hot spot there in the center, right where the wood fence meets the iron fence, where that chair is, about 35 yards away. And then behind there, those trees are anywhere from 40 to 50 yards away. And you can see how it is illuminating it. As I move it off camera, you can see there's a definite edge to the flood. It doesn't really kind of like roll off like some lights do. It's a hard edge. That said, the flood is pretty darn wide, as you can see here. I mean, it goes all the way across the camera lens. Now, just to show you, this is the output from the compact Foxtrot EDC. If I put them right next to each other, they are the same. I can assure you the output is the exact same, just a different battery type. And here we have the output from the Surefire. You can see there a definite brighter, more intense hotspot. That said, the flood is also more condensed. It's just a throwier type of beam, less flood for sure. And for comparison, here is the Surefire EDC. Excuse me, the Sig Sauer EDC, and there is the Surefire. And putting them together, you can definitely see that there is a little bit, I don't know, it might get blown out on camera, but the hotspot here is definitely more intense with the Surefire than with the Sig. And here we have the output from the Streamlight. Once again, you'll see that the hotspot there probably a little bit less defined as you look at it on camera. Flood is also still nice and wide, but it has a little bit of an edge roll off on the spill, as you guys see there as we move it on and off camera. Definitely more of a wall of light than what we have here with the Sig. Sig's a little bit more focused and a little bit more of an edge there where the flood is. Once again, Streamlight, Sig. So I'm about 10 yards back here on my property. Across the lake here from shore to shore is about 110 meters. And then about 10 yards back on the property there is a fishing shack that we'll show you here in just a second. And this is the output from the Sig EDC. You can see there how it is illuminating the shack. And you can also see that this little rosemary bush here on my property is also being illuminated by the flood. If we go ahead and zoom in, this is the best indicator to what I see here with my human eye. Zoomed in, you could see if somebody was standing out there, you'd probably be able to tell what was in their hand, but it's not as bright as what you're going to see here in just a second with the Surefire. However, by contrast, this right here is the output from the Streamlight. Now you can see at distance how much more diffused this beam pattern is here. So it's definitely floodier, and you lose some detail as we go in there. Again, that is the Streamlight, and then for comparison, there we go, that is the Sig. And here we have the output from the Surefire. Now you can see there the rosemary bush is only partially illuminated because of that narrower cone. And zooming on in there, you can see it is definitely bright. Now for contrast, again, that is the Sig EDC there. So a lot less candela for sure, but a little bit more situational awareness. That Surefire really is kind of almost laser-ish, especially at distance. Does a great job at throw. But again, there is the Sig and the Surefire. Put it out there in the trees so you guys can get an idea of that. And that's how they compare. Now that y'all have seen the beam comparison, one thing we need to talk about for sure is going to be durability testing. You guys know here on the channel, it's kind of something that we do. So we took it out to the Atlantic Ocean, this guy specifically, because I thought if there was going to be a problem with like impact results or something like that, it's probably more likely with the bigger one because it's heavier, so it's going to have more energy and force when you drop it and things like that. But before we dropped it, we wanted to take it out and throw it in the Atlantic Ocean. We left it out there for 5 minutes and then checked on it. So take a look at that. Moment of truth. Seems to still work. As you guys just saw there, it works totally fine, so it was on to the drop test. So all of these drop tests were conducted on concrete, and initially, the first two, I believe that I did, I held it out at shoulder height, and I am 6 feet tall, for folks who don't know, and just dropped it on the concrete. And then after that, because it was doing virtually no damage to the light at all, I kind of got annoyed with it, and I started throwing it up in the air. So the last 3 drop tests were from who knows how, like 20 feet. I would guesstimate somewhere around there, high enough that I could still control where it landed, but pretty darn high. And obviously we had no issues in terms of permanent damage. The light still works just fine. So because of that, I wanted to see if any of the mating surfaces were damaged. So I went back out to the ocean and filmed some of the slow motion that you guys are seeing right here. You probably saw it at the beginning of the video as well, and left it out in the ocean again for another 5 minutes. And as you guys can see, it's just fine. I let it sit for 3 days to see if that salt water would corrode anything. As you guys can see, it did not. So whatever kind of anodized finish that they're using on there, and the aluminum, whatever series grade it is, which I honestly don't know, I looked it up and I could not find it, is doing very, very well in terms of corrosion resistance and drop testing. It's doing well, can't be mad at it at all. In terms of other competitive offerings, in particular this one, I don't know of anything that's this size that compares to this kind of output, that is this kind of price, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But this one, very, very close to the Cloud Defensive offering in terms of size. In fact, it's virtually identical. We'll roll in the size and weight here on your screen so you guys can check that out if I haven't already done so. But virtually identical to the Cloud Defensive offering. However, price-wise, not identical. Also, Cloud Defensive, from what I understand, is made in America. All their products are, at least as made in America as you can, because as we've discussed on the channel, emitters are not made in America anymore, at least to the best of my knowledge. And that Cloud Defensive one's pretty darn expensive. The MSRP on both of these lights is going to be $119, and you guys can find them. I've seen them right around $105, somewhere in that price range. Of course, if you guys are not watching on YouTube, there will be links that you guys can go over and pick them up. And even on YouTube, there might be as well, because these are lights. So there might be places that are YouTube friendly. So definitely check in the description if you guys are looking to pick them up. But what do I think of them overall? They seem to be high quality lights. That's absolutely true. I think they're great. Sig has been making inroads in terms of their weapon lights over the last few years. If you guys watch the channel here or subscribe, you guys have seen the tests of them that we've done. I actually just got their newest one in 2 months ago, and full testing on that is coming, but it's looking pretty darn good. And now this is their first foray, at least that I'm aware of anyway, into the everyday carry market. Now, I've looked on a lot of the Candela forums and light forums and stuff like that, and there's been a pretty intense debate about these, whether they are suitable for tactical use versus EDC use. Now, I think that's a very worthwhile conversation to have. That said, I do want to emphasize that Sig markets these for EDC, not for tactical. For example, a lot of people were upset that the bezels here weren't crenellated for striking and things like that. But again, Sig markets it for EDC, not for tactical. That said, could it be used in a tactical application? Absolutely, because it is high only. That is, in my opinion, the only con of these lights that I've seen to date, because I do think in terms of output, size, weight, feature set, with rechargeable batteries, 2 tail caps like we talked about, you guys can pick that. I think they're feature loaded for the money, absolutely. I mean, these things are gonna compete with all of the US made ones that we talked about, as well as favorably with a lot of non-US made lights that are in this category as well. Again, for me, the biggest con would be no low or no administrative mode, but maybe Sig will release one in the future, or maybe a tail cap that allows for that, who knows. But what do I think these lights are? Well, number one, I think they're EDC lights that Sig's selling, which are good for that. That said, looking at the form factor of it, what does this remind you guys of? Surefire Scouts, right? It does for me. So my guess is Sig was doing a proof of concept with these lights, seeing if they could, you know, compete out there in the world of EDC lights. And I think hopefully, if you guys are watching Sig, I would love to see one of these made with a M-LOK or 1913 mount, or even a Scout compatible mount option, because I'm fairly certain that these would do just fine on a weapon mounted application from the drop testing as well as the saltwater testing that we've done. I think they're going to do pretty well in that application. Additionally, I should note that all the springs and stuff in there are pretty beefy, so I think they would be just fine under recoil and stuff like that. You guys can see it's not turning on, so that certainly is good in terms of the recoil impulse. So I would like to see that happen, but who knows if it ever will. And with that, guys, that's pretty much all I have for you on these videos, on these lights rather, excuse me. If you guys like these videos, that's what I meant to say, and you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you've done that and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, then there is an algorithm censoring your eyes for my content. So the easiest way to get around that is to sign up for my email at the website here on your screen. This email goes out every month, and it has all the videos since the previous month's email, so that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content. Additionally, if these things go on sale, any other lights go on sale, ammo, guns, optics, etc. go on sale, we will send that out in the daily deals email. You can sign up for that at the website here on your screen. That email goes out every single day, and it has 8 of the best deals that we find around the internet. If the item is in that email, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet on that day, because I've already done the price comparisons for you. So that way it saves you guys some time and hopefully saves you some money as well. Additionally, there's a good meme in there that a lot of you guys like. So if you guys are into the memes, definitely check that out. So that's it, guys. Again, thank you all for watching. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.